Cyberbullying is definitely not something that's only endemic in schools. It's something that happens in all age groups of society, all the way up to very, very old. Obviously, when people are aggrieved with one another, one of the easiest things to do is to get stuck into social media, send horrible messages to one another. There's a thing called catfishing, where people try and trick one another, and it doesn't happen just with teenagers. It happens with people that are having bad divorces, where people are having bad relationships, where people are aggrieved in the workplace. It can happen absolutely everywhere, and it is something that we're seeing increasingly in all different forms, and I get queries weekly about it. There was absolutely an increase of social media misdemeanors during COVID and during the lockdown. Obviously, when you're sitting in a level 5 lockdown and everybody's sitting at home and incredibly bored, and the only way that they can get any kind of outlet is on social media, then people start to do very creative things in order to keep them entertained. And so we saw a increase in social media misdemeanors across the board. We also saw a lot of people tittle-tailing, as we like to say. I was interviewed about that quite a few times. And so sometimes people would be harassing one another for lawful reasons, and other times it was almost entertainment. Also, what we find is that hackers, and there is actually, it's almost a sport in some places, that young people, or any hackers really, try to, inverted commas, game the system, and they try to get as much, extract as much power out as they possibly can. Not necessarily to get money, but to be able to say that they've done it. There's absolutely a perception that the normal laws of society do not operate in cyberspace. And this is something that we have come up against time and time again in every single sector. So in the employment sector, in the school sector, in the criminal sector. People think that if they're sitting behind a computer, then the normal laws don't apply. The cybersecurity bill, which has just been assented to, is a very, very extensive piece of legislation. It's something that has been debated extensively. It's gone through many iterations, and it is quite it would probably take an entire program to discuss all of the parameters of it. But it's supposed to have a much quicker system for people to go to, and a much more developed system for people to get relief when they have been the victim of some kind of a cyber crime of some sort. And I think they're trying to develop specialized units within the justice system and within the policing system that will focus purely on these types of crimes. Because obviously a violent murder is very, very different from a sophisticated cyber attack. And so people have got to be trained, and police and prosecutors and lawyers have got to be trained to look out for particular things. Often victims of a cybercrime don't have the money to pursue a civil claim. And as we all know, civil claims and getting lawyers involved is very, very expensive. And when you are the victim of harassment or some kind of a cybercrime, you want to get relief quite quickly. And with a civil claim, sometimes it takes a long time. Obviously, when you go to the police station and you report a crime, it's taken out of your hands, and the state is the party that is going to be pursuing the claim and is going to be spending all the money on it. So it is sometimes a preferable way of dealing with the matter. But some people are intimidated by going to the police. So there are all of these options, and they can also run in tandem. There are always costs when it comes to cyber crimes, and there can be the unseen costs that the victim is never going to be able to recoup, and there are obviously the emotional costs of going through the trauma, etc. However, if you have a civil claim that has arisen out of it, it is something that you could pursue for a number of years after the matter has concluded. And obviously, if you are going to sue for damages and there has been a criminal conviction against the person concerned, you will have a much easier time in proving your damages and proving on a balance of probabilities that you have suffered losses, because it's already been proved beyond a reasonable doubt in a criminal court. If somebody came to me where they were being harassed or bullied, the first thing that I ask them is if they know who the person is. If they know who the person is, then I would suggest that they go immediately and get a harassment order from the magistrate's court, which is very, very quick, it's very cheap, and it is something that can be easily enforced. I would also suggest that they go to the police station, and after this case, I would say to them that depending on what has happened, depending on whether it's bullying or whether it's extortion and asking for money, I would say that they lay a charge there. And then I would say to them that following all of these steps that we've taken, if they have suffered some kind of damages, that we have 3 years in order to approach the court for a civil claim. And that is something that they can consider later on down the line. But the immediate concern when I am approached with one of these is getting the victim safe in whatever way that is. So that would usually be accomplished by getting a harassment order and by reporting it to the police. The rules that apply on Twitter in South Africa are the rules that apply to any free speech in South Africa. We have the right to freedom of expression, which is enshrined in the Constitution, but that right is going to have to be weighed up against a person's right to dignity and a person's right to privacy. So in certain instances, it will be appropriate for somebody to make a comment about you. If, say, for example, you're a politician and you have a particular opinion, it is appropriate perhaps for people to make comments on that.